Every nation has its own distinct call, just as every individual has their own. We previously spoke about the three elements of a call. That every call involves an office, a location, and an assignment. For Adam, his location was the garden. His assignment was to dress and keep it. And he was to do this in the office of man, ruler designate of earth. It's the same thing for nations. A nation has a call, a purpose. The Bible contains so many examples. We see it in the Old Testament where the prophets spoke about the destiny of several nations. We also see it in the New Testament. We see Peter calling the church a holy nation. But there's one thing we must know, that a nation's destiny is linked to the destiny of its citizens. Because a nation is as good as the people who respond to the call of God in that nation. The call of a nation into destiny begins when a man begins to fulfill his purpose, when a woman begins to fulfill her destiny, when the general citizens begin to respond to the call of God. Your individual call is always linked to a larger one, and you need to find your place in it. You are part of a body, part of a larger society. And if you don't play your part well, the body won't function well. There's no individualism in building a nation. When Moses left his place in Egypt, and he stayed away for 40 years, God still had to send him back to be restored to his place, just so that he could fulfill destiny, which was also linked to the destiny of the Israel nation. With Moses, we saw how the journey of Israel into their destiny began. And if it was to rest on him alone, he wouldn't have made it. It's too heavy for one man. The 70 elders had to be involved. Aaron had to be involved. Joshua had to be involved. The priests had to be involved. The rulers, every single person had to play their part. Many of them had to begin to walk in their calling, leaving behind their former biases and placing God's purpose above all. Only by that was their personal deliverance assured. Because you see, there's a snare, there's a habit that clings us to culture, to religion, that sometimes distract us from purpose. Abraham had to leave all that behind. You need to break free from that as well. We see it in many countries. It's very difficult for different tribes to work together. Even church denominations fight for superiority. We neglect the verse that says that there's no dichotomy anymore for those that are called. There's no Jew and Greek, for Christ has become the power and wisdom to us all. A call separates you from what you were known with, what you were known for. And culture, tradition does not take precedence over your call. We see it happen to Peter. Peter couldn't enter the ministry of the Gentiles because of this, and it was given to Paul. Look, we know that you can't deny your tribe, your denomination, your family is part of your DNA. But once all that tries to interfere with your call, you should pick Christ. There is a hard truth to know that your call to purpose takes precedence over your personal bias. Look at what happened to Achan, 1 Chronicles 2, who placed his interest above God and his fellow countrymen. He made the whole country to lose a war because of his greed. The gold, the silver entrapped him. The clothes were too nice and he had to keep it for himself. It was sad. He was found out and his fellow countrymen killed him, according to the law of that era. Let's even say that's Old Testament. Let's come to the New Testament. In the early days of the church, Ananias and Sapphira placed their interest above that of others, lying to the Holy Spirit. And they didn't live for another day. When people follow the call of God for their lives, the nation gets better. The nation becomes a single unit, a single breathing organism with one mind. And any individual unit that thinks otherwise is extricated. Yes, will you allow a Judas to slow down the redemption of man? Rather, he will hasten it and be consumed by it. Will you allow 10 spies to stop a nation's entry into the promised land? No. They will have to give way for the coming generation. Nothing can possibly align except people follow the intent of God for their lives, for their nation. And what is the intent of God? Micah 4:4, and this is part of the intent of God, that every man shall sit under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid. Because if not, a few will become successful in that nation, but the mass majority will suffer injustice. So we need to quickly get sons and daughters into their calling for a nation to thrive. Jesus' ministry and assignment wouldn't have continued if there were no workers. The church wouldn't have been established if the 12 disciples didn't answer the call. If Peter, John, and James didn't respond to the call of the Master. If the 70 didn't answer the call to go out and preach the word. The church as a holy nation wouldn't have had that foundation. If you don't answer the call of God, your nation won't go anywhere. Your tribe, your family will be encroached, and your peace and all that you have gathered will be dispersed eventually. God forbid. Don't allow that happen. A nation is only as good as the people who respond to the call of God. Because a nation consists of families, and families are made up of individuals. So begin to walk in your call today. Take your office. Be in the right place. Do the assignment given, and not live for your survival alone. If we begin to do this, begin to do all this, we will see transformation in our families and in the nation as a whole. Psalm 22 verse 27. It says, all the ends of the world shall remember and turn unto the Lord, and all the families of the nation shall worship before him. For the kingdom is the Lord, and is the governor among the nations. God bless you in Jesus' name.